right. Welcome. Get myself back on the screen here. Welcome to Managing Stress and Anxiety in Turbulent Times. And I'm so glad that you're here with me. I expect that there will be more people who jump on as we go along. But this is just a gift. I really felt that I wanted to do this given the times that we're in and the amount of anxiety and uncertainty that people are expressing, on social media, on LinkedIn, and all the places. We're hearing about it all the time. So I wanted to spend a little time with you all today and just talk about some strategies that I think will be really helpful for us to cope with the times that we're in. But before we get into the presentation today, I'd like to just go over some logistics. First of all, please make sure that your cameras and microphones are off. I'm hearing myself. Welcome to Hang on one second. Managing Stress and Anxiety in Turbulent Times. And I'm so glad that you're here with me. I expect that there will be more people who jump on as we go along. But this is just a gift. I really felt that I wanted to do this given the times that we're in and the amount of anxiety and uncertainty that people are expressing, on social media, on LinkedIn, and all the places we're hearing about. Okay, I'm sorry, that was just really bizarre. I have never live streamed on YouTube before, and there's a delay and it was feeding back, but I think I've solved it. Emas, did you hear that coming through? Can you just take your mic off for a second and tell me if you could hear the audio on that?
I've heard the background you talking.
Okay. All right. I think we've got it fixed now. So I'm going to keep going and hopefully this all works out. If it doesn't, I will delete this off of YouTube and we can post it later once it's been edited. Thank you. All right. So let's just let me pull up my presentation and let's just let us see if we can get this all going here in a way that makes sense. And forgive me for the technical difficulties. My goodness, here we are. All right, can we move this? Yeah. Okay, so why did I decide to do this? Let's start there. When we think about all the things that are happening in the world right now and the uncertainty of our political climate, it just, if we look at the tariff threats and concerns about the economy, Canada being in conflict with our closest ally, and all of the things that come with that, like I said in my quick introduction, there are a lot of people that are struggling. I'm sorry, tech is not my friend today. People are struggling with all of the uncertainty. If we just look at what's happened in the last 5 years, the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic downturn, Russia versus Ukraine, all of the injustices that are happening in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and other places in Africa, the Israel-Palestine conflict, all of this political upheaval and the global uncertainty, people are just emotionally and mentally overwhelmed. And whether it's fear for your family, worries about your finances, how you're going to manage your work-life balance, there's so much going on in the world today that's contributing to fear and anxiety. And all anxiety is fear-based, and fear often comes from feeling like the circumstances in our lives are out of our control. And so I would like to share with you some strategies to help you wrest back that sense of control for yourself. So who am I? Let me share with you a little bit about me. My name is Julie Christensen. I am an international public speaker, a master's level registered psychotherapist, a 14-time published book author, and I publish primarily in the space of self-help and psychology, including these two. Let me just yank these for you. The Rise of Rage, which came out in February of last year. And then the Mastery Code is actually book number 15, which will be coming out later on this month. And my podcast, Freedomology, is in its third season. I've guested on several national syndicated television and radio programs, podcasts, and print media to share my expertise in these areas of anger and emotional regulation. And it's been my privilege to positively impact the lives of thousands of people around the globe by showing them how to create radical, positive, lasting change. So I'm coming to you with years of experience. And the things that I believe for sure are that we don't have problems with our emotions. We have problems that generate our emotions. And we certainly know that every problem is a relationship problem. And so even the things that we are seeing on a grand scale, if we're looking at international conflicts, conflicts between world leaders, all of these are relationship problems, either relationship with self, relationship with others, or relationship with things. And so I'm coming from that particular mindset or worldview as we go through the content today. So I said before my introduction that all fear comes from feeling like the circumstances in our lives are out of our control. And the truth is that there's not a lot that we can control, right? One area that we do have control over is the direction of our thoughts. And we have choices about what we do in response to those thoughts. So that's why we're doing this quick lunch and learn today, because I want to reassure you that you can shift your mindset. You can increase your resiliency. You can cope more effectively with the stressors that you're facing today and in the days to come. And so here's our plan for today. Our plan for today is I'm going to start with a quick overview of future shock and hurry sickness. And I'm going to explain what both of those things are in a little bit more detail. But then we're going to explore some strategies for self-awareness and how to begin to shift our responses. And then I'm going to follow up with 5 strategies, down and dirty, real quick, for building resiliency and reducing stress and anxiety symptoms. So let's begin with an overview of future shock. So the key thing is that future shock is a term that was defined by Alvin Tofer, I believe is how you say his last name. He was a futurist and an author. And he said that future shock basically is what happens when changes in our world, in technology, in society, in politics are happening faster than people are mentally, physically capable of adjusting. So if you remember back in COVID-19, one day we were in quarantine, the next day they were saying, okay, we're lifting restrictions. And then they were saying, no, you're not allowed out of your house. And it was just back and forth and back and forth. And the changes were coming so quickly that we didn't have time to adjust. And that led to increased anxiety. And so if we think about how we have been exposed to future shock throughout the COVID-19 crisis, and even now with what's happening politically between the United States and Canada, and around the rest of the world, honestly, we see that things are happening so fast. There is a lot of shock and awe, or as Stephen Colbert said the other night, it's been 5 weeks of shock and awful. And so we're feeling that. We're feeling it in our bodies. We're feeling it mentally as well. And then hurry sickness, as an extension of that, is a cluster of the symptoms that we experience when we are in the throes of future shock, right? So let me give you a couple of definitions of hurry sickness. It is a malaise or a feeling of malaise in which a person feels chronically short of time. And so they tend to multitask to the point of forgetting one or more of the tasks. Now, you don't need to raise your hand, but feel free. Use the emojis if you want to just express if you have ever felt that, where you've been multitasking so much that you start forgetting to do things. Here's another definition. It describes the cluster of symptoms that we experience when we feel like we're constantly short of time. So I'd like you to do just a little self-test as I walk through these symptoms and tell me if you feel like these resonate with you. So the first symptom is irritability, and just give yourself 1 point for each of these symptoms that you're experiencing. With irritability, you get mad, frustrated, or you just annoy very easily. Little things get on your nerves, and people have to kind of tiptoe around you because they're not sure if you're going to be in a good mood or not today. So it's impacting you, but it's impacting others as well. The second is hypersensitivity. It doesn't take much to set you off or to hurt your feelings. A little turn of events can throw you off for the whole day. Like I've heard people say this to me in my practice. They'll say, like all it takes is for just one thing and it ruins my day. And minor things quickly escalate into major emotional events. The third is restlessness. When you try to slow down and rest, your body doesn't feel like it wants to let you do that. Your feet are always twitching. You feel this low grade vibration in your body. You want to go to bed early, but you're tossing and turn because your mind won't slow down. Workaholism. Oh, let me go back to restlessness for one more second. Here's one more symptom that you may resonate with. You're watching TV, but you're also checking your phone at the same time, right? This hyper focus. Workaholism or nonstop activity. You don't know when to stop or you can't stop. At the end of the day, you don't have anything left for the people that you love, for your kids, your spouse, your friends. They get the grouchy, irritable, hypersensitive you instead of your best version of yourself. The fifth is you're emotionally numb. You don't have the capacity to feel other people's pain or even your own sometimes because empathy just takes too much energy. So many people are coming into my office in my private practice and they're saying things like, I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth to handle any more anybody else's stuff. I don't have room for it. And so if you don't have the time for it, then you're living in this state where you're constantly just sort of numbed out from the people around you and your own experience. Number six is your priorities get out of order. You're feeling disconnected from your identity, maybe, or your calling, or you're always getting sucked into the urgent instead of focusing on the important. I don't know if that sounds familiar, but if it does, give yourself a point. Number seven is lack of self-care. You don't have time for the basics. You're not getting 8 hours of sleep a night. You're not getting your daily exercise. You're not eating healthy food. You're not taking your supplements. You're not doing the things that you know you need to do in order to take care of your body. And as a result, you may be gaining weight. You may be having flare-ups with inflammation. You're not sleeping well. You're consuming too much energy drinks, caffeine, sugar, processed carbs, or alcohol to try and compensate for what your body can't do for you naturally. Number eight is escapist behaviors. This is when we just sit down in front of the television and we binge watch a show on Netflix. And when we're done, we can't even tell you anything about the story because we don't even remember what the show was called, right? It might be surfing the web, doom scrolling on social media, looking at pornography, whatever that cultural narcotic might be. This is where we go because we don't want to deal with what's happening in the real world. Number nine is slippage of spirit. Actually, I've turned these around. So number nine is isolation, feeling disconnected from perhaps yourself and from others. When you're with your friends, it's almost like you're not present, right? You're there, but you're not there. You're not really connected to what's happening in the moment. Worse still, you may be physically isolating yourself from people. So you're just, you go to work, you come home, and you cocoon yourself in your home because you just don't want to deal with what's going on in the outside world. And then number 10 is distance from spiritual connection. When you get over busy, those things that truly feed your soul get sacrificed. And as a result, you don't feel like you're connected with nature. You don't feel like you're connected with your higher power, however you define that. And so those things that feed that, like quiet time, meditation, prayer, yoga, whatever those might be, those tend to fall by the wayside as well. Now, out of the 10, how many of these symptoms can you relate to? And I want you to just make a comment for yourself to where you fall. Like if you're experiencing 6 or more of these symptoms, you're probably in the full throes of hurry sickness. And by the way, I got this list from, what is his name? John Mark Comer, who wrote The 10 Symptoms of Hurry Sickness, and he wrote this in 2019. So, wouldn't it be great if with a few simple strategies and life hacks that we could turn this around? I mean, when I read through this, and I've been teaching about hurry sickness for years, actually, for probably 25 years, I've been teaching about hurry sickness. Um, and I can resonate with some of these. Over the last several weeks, I wouldn't say I've been irritable, but maybe I've been a little restless. Maybe I have been overworking a bit. Maybe I have been on the low end of bandwidth to handle other people's stuff, right? Maybe there's been a little escapism in there. I may or may not have binged watched a show over the weekend with my husband, right? So, we can look at it and go, okay, so we can see where the symptoms are showing up. Now, what do we do about it? How do we resolve this? Let me share with you some strategies. And the first thing I want to share with you is something that you may be familiar with. I know that Emast, who is with us right now, is familiar with this thought matrix. I want to bring it back again and just talk very quickly about how our thoughts inform our feelings, because the way we feel invariably informs our choices and our actions. And of course, those actions determine our outcomes, right? So, in periods of intense stress like we find ourselves in now, it's easy to kind of go to what if questions. And I, excuse me, I have looked on YouTube and I have seen so many scenarios. What if America should launch an invasion of Canada? What if this happens? What if that happens? I heard on the news some time ago that Putin was thinking about, he was coming up with scenarios for how they could attack the United States if they wanted to with nuclear weapons. And it's just it can send us into an absolute tizzy thinking about these things, right? And so if we get lost in those what if questions, what if I lose my job? What if I can't make rent? What if America comes across the border with tanks and military, blah, blah, blah? What if someone in my family gets sick? It's human nature to think of those worst case scenarios and then take action to avoid the worst case scenario. But here's the thing. We avoid the worst case scenario because it feels most frightening. And then when we think these negative or scary or anxious, fearful thoughts, it's in our nature to want to fix that feeling very quickly. But taking action to fix the feeling doesn't usually lead to a favorable outcome. So what we need to do instead is we need to shift our thoughts. And the key to making a positive shift is to focus on our desired outcomes rather than the intangible things that we fear. I'm going to say that again. The key to making a positive shift is to focus on our desired outcomes, this right here, the desired outcomes, rather than the intangible things that we fear. So if you're worried about losing money or not being able to make rent or someone getting sick or a war breaking out between our country and our neighbor, rather than thinking about what could happen and how horrible it would be, focused on your desired outcomes. Maybe your desired outcome is to live within your means. Maybe your desired outcome is to make sure you can make rent, to keep your family healthy, to keep yourself safe, to keep your family safe. Once you're focused on your desired outcomes, you'll notice that what happens is that your feelings start to shift, and it's more likely that you'll take actions that will lead toward your desired outcomes rather than just a quick fix of your feelings. So, keeping this in mind, let's take a look at what we can do when we are sort of overwhelmed with anxious behaviors or anxious thoughts. Because here's the thing, if we're feelings fixing, then it might be something as simple as self-soothing behaviors, biting your fingernails, chewing on your lip, fidgeting, right? Or it might be something more like smoking excessively or turning to alcohol or turning to recreational drugs, something to help us cope with those awful feelings that we're experiencing. So what do we do when we find ourselves engaging in these anxious thoughts or behaviors? Well, first we have to become aware, right? And so you direct your awareness to what you're doing in that moment, whether it's hand wringing or biting your nails, snapping at other people, or stress eating, right? Wandering into the kitchen and just eating whatever's handy because it's there. And then acknowledge it. Oh, I see that I'm wringing my hands again. Oh, I'm in the kitchen, I'm looking for food again, but I realize that I'm actually not hungry, right? Or I notice that I'm irritable and snappy. And then, right as you're acknowledging it, accept it. Be okay with what is happening in the moment. Don't judge it. This is the key thing because we make matters worse when we go, oh, I'm right, I'm biting my nails again, or I'm stress eating again. And then we heap recriminations on ourselves when it's not necessary. Just be accepting. Just accept it. Don't judge it. Don't blame yourself. Don't complain about your actions. Just let it be what it is. If you can accept the behavior, but you acknowledge that you want to change it, your brain shifts. And then you can plan how you're going to move forward towards that change or what you'll do instead, right? So try to do this all without judgment. And then the next thing you want to do is do a quick assessment. How am I feeling in this moment? What's going on? There is an acronym that we use in my practice called BLAST. I didn't make it up, but it comes out of addictions work. And BLAST stands for bored, lonely, angry, sad, tired, right? Are you any of those things, right? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you bored? What's going on? Are you just doing it out of habit? Are you trying to fix a feeling? If so, what could you do instead that might be more effective, right? You could ask yourself questions like, is there something that I'm thinking that's contributing to this feeling? So what if I shift my thoughts? If I shift my thoughts, might my feelings change, right? If the feelings change, it's likely that this anxious behavior will stop. And finally, we want to adapt or adjust. And this is where you actively embark on extinguishing that feelings fixing behavior and introducing a healthier choice. So you might be asking, what are my healthy choices, Julie? I don't know. I'm at my wit's end and I can't think of anything. Well, have no fear. I have some strategies here for you. The first strategy that I want to introduce really looks at that lack of spiritual connection, right? That we talked about in terms of the symptoms of hurry sickness. My goodness. So engaging in prayer or meditation, this activates the relaxation response and it reduces stress and anxiety. So there was a meta-analysis, and I'm reading this because I want to be careful that I get this right. There was a meta-analysis published in the Journal of for American, I believe it's the Journal of American Medical Association. It's the AMA. Their internal medicine journal found that mindfulness meditation can produce moderate improvements in anxiety symptoms with effect sizes comparable to those of some medications. So what this is meaning is that prayer and meditation can be almost as, or if not equally as effective as taking anti-anxiety meds. So this is significant. So whatever that looks like for you, if it's just quiet time, if it's reading, some people love to find themselves in poetry, some people really love to engage in actual prayer or just in meditation practice. This can be really helpful for reducing your levels of stress and anxiety. The next is to hydrate. We don't talk about this enough. Proper hydration is absolutely essential for optimal brain function and mood regulation. Research shows that even mild dehydration can impair your cognitive performance, can contribute to migraines and lack of focus, and it elevates feelings of anxiety and fatigue. There was a study that observed that dehydration by as little as 1 to 2% of your body weight can negatively affect your mood and energy levels. So if you're not getting your 8 glasses of water per day, you've got to make sure that you're hydrating. In fact, I remember years ago when I first started teaching on hurry sickness, there was a study that had come out that found that human beings on average lose up to 8 glasses of water per day just sweating and breathing. Just sweating and breathing, we are losing 8 glasses of water. So the 8 glasses of water is just the minimum. It's the bare minimum to keep our bodies hydrated. So keep that in mind. Hydration can affect your mood. Next, move your body. Move your body. Regular physical activity releases endorphins, natural mood lifters that help alleviate anxiety. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America suggests that just 20 to 30 minutes of aerobic exercise can significantly reduce your anxiety symptoms and improve your overall mood and enhance your well-being. And we know that low intensity activity is really good for bringing down your overall activation of your nervous system. So if you're extremely anxious, that means your nervous system is highly activated. And so it may not be good to do that high intensity workout. It might be better to do low intensity work, yoga, Pilates, calisthenics, stretching, goat yoga, puppy yoga, all of those things can really help you to lower your anxiety levels and bring your body back to baseline. Next, we have connect and breathe. Connect and breathe. So this is two-part. Deep, mindful breathing exercises have been shown to lower cortisol levels, and this is the body's primary stress hormone. So this also reduces overall stress. In addition, connecting with others, we haven't talked about this enough, but connecting with others provides social support, which is crucial for your mental health. Research links strong social relationships to a 50% increased likelihood of long-term survival and reduced anxiety. Let me just give you that stat again, because I think that's just staggering. Strong social relationships are linked to a 50% increased likelihood of long-term survival and reduced anxiety. So what does this mean? Call your friends. I had a conversation with a friend on the weekend. We're talking about making plans to go for dinner or to get together, my husband and me and this friend. And my friend said, there's no rush. We'll figure it out. And I said, actually, I don't want to just figure it out. Because if we keep saying, let's go for dinner, let's go for dinner, let's go for dinner, we'll never go for dinner. Unless we put it in the books and make it a real appointment, we won't follow through. And what happens is then years and years go by and you miss out on connecting with the people you truly care about. Instead, we're on our phones, we're doom scrolling, and we're making comments on Facebook to people we don't even know. Meanwhile, the relationships with the people we know and love are falling by the wayside. And I think this is a huge contributor to the stress and anxiety we're experiencing. And I would argue that those people who are working very consistently at making sure they stay connected with their friends, with their family, with their business colleagues, individual connections, face to face. They're going for lunch, they're going to networking events, they're going to concerts, they're doing these things, they're doing them together. I believe that they are having not more better, a better quality of life than those who tend to self-isolate. So it's important that we breathe, that we engage in mindfulness practice, but that we also connect with people in real time, physical, actual connection, and not virtual connection. And finally, we want to talk about getting grounded. So with getting grounded, we want to look at two ways that we can do this. One is with grounding techniques, okay? And so if you jump onto YouTube and you look for a video called Earthing, I believe it's the science of grounding. It will talk about the value of connecting with Earth's energy to help regulate what's happening on a molecular level in your body. Now, I'm not going to dig into that too deeply today because it is, it's a science that I don't completely understand, but I do know it works. In fact, I'm sitting at my desk right now on top of a grounding mat. And this grounding mat is connecting me to the ground current that's coming in from outside my house. And even as I'm sitting here, I'm not doing anything except for just doing my job and sitting in my seat. But the grounding mat is doing its work of helping to set to balance what's happening at a biochemical level in my body, which is super cool. So we want to do that. But let's take a look at what the science does say. I've got one stat here that I'll share with you. Studies demonstrate that exposure to natural environments, meaning being outside and actually connecting with the earth's energy, not in your rubber-soled shoes, but this is why people say hug a tree, right? Because we want to actually connect with the earth's energy, can lower your cortisol levels by up to 15%. Okay? Exposure to natural environments can lower cortisol levels by up to 15%, and this fosters a sense of calm and control in stressful situations. So aside from this, there are other types of grounding techniques which we can use to help to reduce our stress and anxiety. Mindfulness practice, we talked about this a little bit in the previous slide. Mindfulness practice, spending time in nature, bringing your focus back to the present moment can all help to foster a sense of calm and control. So I wonder if we could just do that right now. And it's very simple to do. Like we don't have to get into a deep meditative state or anything, but I wonder if you could just look around the room that you're in. Look around the room that you're in, and I'm going to ask you to see if you can locate all the things in this room that are white. All the things in your room that are white. So just look around the room that you're in, find all the white things in this room, and then close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, visualize the room, see all the white things. Take a breath, exhale, and then I want you to see if with your eyes closed, you can identify all of the things in that room that are blue. And use your reaction emojis. Give me a thumbs up if you were able to identify the blue things without opening your eyes. And I wonder if you can just put in the chat, what was the difficulty with seeing the blue things? And as you're putting that in the chat, I'll make a suggestion to you that it was the fact that you gave your brain a command to select only the white things in the room to focus on. And because you gave your brain that selective command, your brain followed the command and looked only for the things that were white, and it ignored or it excluded everything else. And so what this does for us is it gives us a lesson. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you focused on one thing and you just ignored the rest. And so what that teaches us is that we have the ability to very easily give our brains a command to selectively exclude certain things and only focus on what we want to focus on. So, for example, I jumped on Facebook today I think my original intention was to see how many people had expressed their interest in today's webinar. And as I was jumping on, I got distracted. Right? I got distracted by something that was in the feed. I didn't need to look at it, but shiny object syndrome, my brain went over there. And so as I was looking at that thing, there was a little voice in the back of my head going, you came on here for a reason. What was it? And of course, hurry sickness symptom, the distraction. I couldn't remember what I'd come on for. And so I closed Facebook. I closed it and I thought, when I remember what I want to come back on here for, then I'll come on, because otherwise I'll get stuck in this thing of constantly scrolling. Before I know it, I'll lose a half an hour or an hour. So then when I remembered, I came back to it and I went directly to where I wanted to go, and I did what I needed to do, and then I closed it again. And this is what I'm talking about. If we are mindful of where we are getting distracted and how we're getting distracted, then we can bring ourselves back. We can give our brains specific commands, and it will help us to stay focused and to stay grounded, as in connected to the present, and not sort of floating all over the place and getting caught up in the symptoms of hurry sickness. So I want to share with you this free resource, Radical Positive Lasting Change. This is an ebook that I wrote actually right at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis in 2020. And I believe that it still has applications for today. Much of what I've shared with you here, you're going to find in there. You're going to find more detail on this notion of a muddled mindset and how this fallacy of control makes us feel like we have to try and control the situations that we're in. And what happens is that we actually create more anxiety for ourselves because we are trying to control circumstances over which we have absolutely no ability to influence, right? Now, there are ways in which we can influence the things that are happening. We can do that with our votes. We can do that with our dollars, right? The recent economic blackout was evidence of that, that when we vote with our dollars or we vote with our feet, messages get sent. And so in that way, we have a way to respond to the things that are happening in our world, but we cannot control the outcomes. And so if we can find a way to release the outcomes, but still, the greater outcomes, I'm talking about the global stuff that we don't have any control over. But if we focus on the outcomes that we can have some kind of influence over and we make right choices, then I believe that we will see stress reduce overall. And so this book will provide you with additional strategies to help you navigate these rapid changes that we're all experiencing and to help you to adjust so that you come out on the other side more resilient and less anxious. And so if you scan this link with your phone, if you are on your phone right now, that might be a problem. But if you are looking to connect with this link, what I will do is when we are done and I go into YouTube to just edit the video, I will put the link to the ebook in the comments so that you can access it there. And feel free to download this ebook. I believe it will be truly helpful for you. And then finally, I want to offer you an opportunity to work with me a little bit more closely. Um, as I said before, the reason that um, sure, I will do my best to add the link here. I hope that I don't get myself so distracted. Actually, I don't think I can add the link while the screen is on. So as soon as I stop screen sharing, I will add the link in the chat as well. So the reason that I decided to do this free webinar, as I mentioned, was that I was just I'm feeling it, honestly. Like the video that I posted on social media, I really meant that. I am feeling it. It is very hard to not watch all the things that are being said about what's happening in the world right now. It's also, we want to be educated, we want to be informed, but it's hard to detach emotionally as well from what's happening right now because it's just so fraught with emotion. And there are lots of reasons to be angry, right? So, as I was, working through my own process of dealing with all of the rapid changes that are happening, and noticing how many other people were really distraught and stressed, and hearing from people who are losing their jobs and they don't know what's happening and they're calling on action and everyone's kind of freaking out. I really wanted to share my expertise with people who want to move out of that space of of feeling like they're always on the defensive and always trying to figure out what next, what next, what next, to helping people to just have a plan to master their emotions, a plan to respond to all of the changes that are happening in the world, and a plan to move forward in that world with confidence, regardless of what those people around us do that we can't control. And so some of the things that will happen if you decide to work with me is, number one, you'll gain clarity about what you want to achieve, about what your desired outcomes are, and how to set up a plan to achieve that. And the areas that we'll work on are emotional mastery, communication. How do you talk to people so that you can get what you want? And that doesn't mean how to manipulate people. It means how do you apply the rules of persuasion so that you can get people to work with you and collaborate with you rather than working against you. We'll look at how we can foster those deeper connections because connection is so vital to our stress and anxiety management. We'll talk about self-care. We'll talk about the things that you need to do in your business or in your work, as well as in your personal life, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you have the bandwidth to take care of others as you are needed. We'll talk about things like anticipatory grief, depression, and managing anxiety, and how to work through those times when you find yourself really dysregulated, whether it's because of a trauma response or family dynamics or something that you saw on the news that really impacted you or triggered you. We'll talk about how to work through those moments of high dysregulation so that you can continue to function and be your best self, whether you're doing that at work or in play or at home. And there are other components depending on what you need. There are no cookie cutters in my practice. And so, if you're struggling to figure out who you are and how you fit into the world that we're living in, I have a program called Identity Alchemy. And of course, I want to go deeper with you into overcoming the fallacy of control because that, my friends, is such a vital part, a vital contributor to the anxiety that we feel on the day to day. And there is, of course, so much more that I can't talk about right now because I'm conscious of the time. Um, but the most important thing that I need you to understand is that I care about what you're going through. I care about how you're feeling in these really turbulent times. And I would love to be of assistance. And if you'd like to work with me, then I would encourage you to reach out to me. And you can find me at angersolution.com. I'm going to put those in the chat as well. My website, angersolution.com and leverageu.ca. You can find me there. And certainly, I'm happy to work with you and just to provide a free consultation so that we can see if it's a good fit. And I'm sorry, I'm typing as I'm talking. And I'm just going to go now that I've gotten um, out of the presentation. I'm going to find the link for you to get the free ebook. So give me one moment. There it is. Copy the link address and let's see if that worked. Yes. So there it is. So that's the link for accessing the ebook, Radical Positive Lasting Change. And I know that that will be a big help as well. So now I am just going to open up the floor for questions. So Emas, you can go ahead and put your video and your microphone back on. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take those. Okay. I'm not sure if Emas is still with us, but as promised, what did we do today? We looked at future shock and hurry sickness, the symptoms of hurry sickness. I'm really going to encourage you, if you went through that list of 10 symptoms and you realize that you have 6 or more of those symptoms, now is a good time to make some changes. Introduce some healthier choices into your diet. Get one of those bottles of water that measures out how many cups you've drank throughout the day. Uh, Call your friends. Book a lunch or a dinner or something to do on the weekend. Book a girls' night or a guys' night out. Um, Start
Yeah,
now
I
to.
I I lost you,
Oh, did you lose me?
but I'm
I,
okay. I'm okay. I'm not good at this, so I was just trying to download your.
Okay, I thought I had lost you because I had said you could go ahead and if you had any questions,
No, it was
to
awesome.
you could voice them now.
Appreciate it. It was a good summary.
Yeah, what's your biggest challenge right now? It just with everything that's happening. Like I think for me, it's just staying away from all of the opinion pieces and everybody sort of ranting and raving about what's happening politically. But what's it for you?
Yeah, I take the challenges the way it comes, and I don't respond in an emotional way. I'm kind of pretty good at taking it as it is.
Hmm.
It's how it is, it's a political, and I don't get into. I was into politics when I in 70s back when I was in high school, not anymore. That doesn't mean that I'm not worried about or care about what's happening where we live or over the world, but politics is politics. So it's all we can do is if we can get our voice out there, there's a way to do it and the proper way, and I do that. But I'm not the one that will go to social media and rant or whatever. It's not my type.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Like there's no point, right? Because like I
Yeah,
said earlier, we're engaging with people we don't know and who also have no power to change what's happening in the world right now,
yeah,
right?
and
Outside
also,
of the
yeah,
power that we have.
yeah, and also everybody is in their way. They believe that what they say is the truth or what they say it's
Yeah,
supposed to be. So I mean, what's the point debating about
yeah,
something that you really cannot do too much about it? It's like,
yes,
and I really don't have the time to go to social media and follow and play that game. But
yeah.
overall, I do hope that there will be some common sense if you can ever get that in politics.
Yeah, yeah,
And then this change this radical things, but in my small world, if I can make that happen with my little steps, I do it.
yeah, yeah.
I've been carrying Made in Canada for years, but I have to be very honest with you. People compliment you that you carry the Made in Canada products, but they don't want to pay the price
Right.
because
Yeah,
Made
I
in Canada products are
cost more.
much more
Yeah,
expensive,
yeah.
and and it doesn't work that way, right? You have to support. I have a local, like, I carry local products. I carry earrings from my friend who makes it locally. I carry a clothing line, very casual, that
Hmm.
it's made in St. Catharines, but where are the people, you know
Yes.
where are
Yeah.
the people? So they
I
like
think
to
we're going to
talk,
see
but
that
when it comes
change.
to sport, they are not around. So
Yeah, I
it
think we're
doesn't
going to
work.
see that change with this
Let's hope
new
so.
climate. But I think you've done really well in terms of maintaining your focus on the things that you can control, right, in
Of
your
course.
environment.
Of course.
And that's the thing that's so important is that we don't get sidetracked by all of the crazy that's happening in the world, because there will
Exactly.
always be something crazy going on in the
That's
world.
true.
But having that mindset that says, I'm focused on my desired outcomes and that's what I'm going to direct my attention to, that is such a game changer. So I'm so excited to see that you're doing that.
Well, I got that from you as well.
Yes, yes, book club graduate
Well,
right
it just
here,
it
represent.
confirmed that what I'm doing is the right things. Let's put it that way.
Yes, yeah, and that's so important. So I just want to encourage everyone else who's going to watch this video that these strategies do work. And if you're just consistent with them, you don't have to change everything at once, but if you just change one thing today, it'll put you on the right footing so that you can change one more thing tomorrow and maybe change one more thing in the days to come. And before you know it, you'll have a good set of habits that are keeping you emotionally, physically, and psychologically resilient in these really turbulent times. Thank you so much for watching and for spending this hour with me. And I wish you all the very best. And please, if you want to work with me, don't forget the links are there in the chat, and I will put these in the YouTube captions as well. But I hope to see you again
Sure.
very soon.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye for now.